Hello everyone, it's Sherry from Turquoise Dreaming. How's everyone doing today? Welcome to my channel. I'm on my second step here of creating these journals. They're the glue books that I'm creating out of the Funk Wagnall Dictionary, the children's dictionaries. So my last video was putting the new spines in, and they're 3-inch spines like we talked about, and now I'm putting on the fabric over those. Now remember I said all of this would be covered up, so what I've done is go ahead and cut my fabric. So I wouldn't do that on video, I have to do that on video and take up that time, but I want it to cover the tape and the the new spine. And I put trim on it right here. This one's got some rickrack. And I want it to be over, I want the trim to be on the book, hopefully. So I've cut it wide enough to make sure I have room to put it on the book and cover up the whole spine and everything. So like mine that was a 3-inch spine, and this fabric is about 5 3/4 wide. And I've made it a little bit longer than the book so I can wrap it around a little bit. It's 11 1/4 inch long on this one. So I've got my Fabri-Tac here to glue on this fabric, and what I'm doing is, first of all, I'm going to make sure of where I want to start my glue. So I have my trim on the book front. So I'm just like kind of putting it on here like this so I can see, okay, yeah. It covers up the binding and goes a little bit over like that. Okay. So I'm going to start my glue right there on the edge of the fabric, where the edge of the fabric will be. You see, again, there it is. And I can always add more glue underneath the edge of the fabric, but right now I want it there, but I don't want it to ooze out when I press down my fabric. And I'm putting it on the book instead of the fabric because I found that to be more it just works better if you put it on the fabric. Sometimes it like seeps through the fabric or whatever when you put it right on the fabric. So I've got my line there, and then I'm going to kind of look over here on the other side and start a line there, just under the edge. So you can see where, you're going with the glue. So now I can take this off, the fabric off for a second. And I'm just going to draw a line with the glue all the way down on both sides. I'm going to spread it out a little bit there. I'll try to make a straight line all the way down. And it's just a fine line there of glue. Go across the bottom. The bottom's going to have the fabric wrapped around, so you won't have any glue oozing out there if you happen to put a little bit too much. But just spread it out with your, your tip of your, that's what I do. And then I'm going to go along this cardboard part that's showing here in between the tape, and then over the tape real good, just like this with thin, it's a thin, beads of glue across that, so that you have plenty of glue that's going to be under your fabric, but not too much. You don't want to have globs of glue under there. You don't want any glue to show through your fabric. So I'm just going to make sure I think that all my spaces are pretty much, the spaces are pretty much filled in with glue where it's going to be all glued down, but you have enough glue, but you don't have, you're not overdoing it. Okay, so now we just take our fabric, put it on here, a little bit over the top and a little bit over the bottom. Line it up with where you line, you put your fabric to line up your line there. And then spread it out flat. So I cut my fabric, and I cut it in 2 pieces instead of wrapping it around, because I wanted to show the trim on here. Otherwise, if I was just putting fabric, like if you're not putting trim, you could make this like double and wrap it around instead of doing 2 pieces. I've seen that done, and I've done that. But it was easier for me to cut 2 pieces since I was sewing trim on here. I just couldn't deal with a whole, because I'm not putting trim on the other side. I couldn't deal myself. Maybe you could deal with having the longer piece that wraps around and just putting trim here. But like this way, I didn't have to measure really my trim. I just put it on here and sew it on and cut off the ends. That's just easier for me, and that's the way I like to do it, and that I can handle. You know what I mean? Sometimes you develop your own way of doing things according to what you can handle. And so I didn't want to deal with that extra fabric for the back. So we're going to turn it over. You can see it is bent nicely there. It's all tight. And here's what it looks like so far in the front. So we're going to do the inside piece. And I do the same thing on the inside. I was going to say, I do when I cut my fabric, it was an end piece. So I ripped, how you cut a little snip in the top of your fabric. You have to make sure like the grain is going the right way, the long way. And then you can just cut a little snippet in the end of your fabric and just rip so you don't cut. And I like that rough edge on the front cover right here. So that's my rough edge here. I love that. And then the smooth edge is over here where it was the end piece of the fabric. So that is the end piece. Just so you know what I did with the cutting. And then the bottom and the top is actually cut. Well, this was the end piece too. It was like a corner piece. So this was end. So this was already cut. And then I cut this piece. Okay, so I'm going to do the inside. And I'm going to go ahead and just fold over my extra from the front. So a little bead of glue here. And on this I've been kind of putting a little bead of glue right where the book and the fabric meet. I just want that to be nice and tight. And then I don't want too much glue here right now because I'm going to it's going to be covered up with the other fabric. But I just want to get it folded over and enough to have it tacked down, and smooth. And then we're going to kind of play this by ear as to whether we can go ahead and do the second piece or not. Because if this looks like it needs to dry, I might have to leave this and come back and do the second piece. I did have to do that on one where I wanted to make sure this was gluing down flat and nicely before I did my second piece on one of them that I'm working on, one of these books. And then the other ones are all glued down nicely right away. And then I had no problem going ahead and doing the second, piece, which was the inside piece. So, like I said, you can add glue if you don't put enough down at first. This needs a little bit right here. Maybe a little bit right here. And again, this is going to be covered up. So if you have a little glue seeping out here, it doesn't matter so much. You don't want globs or anything, but a little bit showing really won't matter one way or the other. You just want to get that all flat. You don't want, you don't try not to have lumps under there. You know what I mean? So, and then I'll push it in a little bit here with my scissors. And get it down there really flat. Okay, I think that one's good. Get a little bit more net here at the bottom in the corner. Not staying down yet. You kind of just got to take your time and, you know, make sure everything's getting glued down. You know, you want your end result to be, I want my end result to be like a professional book, like it was originally made this way, if you know what I mean. Okay. That looks like it's going to stay now. Oops. This piece is a little tiny bit right here. I mean, that's going to be covered up, so it probably wouldn't matter, but there we go. That's better. Okay, so I think we can go ahead and do our second piece. So let's see. Trying to see which is the front. So I think I'll put the raggedy side that I ripped over here on the front cover. And I've got a little bit of string coming off here. Let me go ahead and maybe cut that off. I could cut it off later, but I just cut it off now. And kind of like to see what the finished edge is going to be like, you know what I mean? Okay. So that looks good. So let's go ahead. Now I have it a little bit longer up here. I did that on purpose because first of all, I want to make sure it's long enough so when I end up gluing it down, if something goes awry, I'd rather have extra than not enough, and then I'll cut that off. You can either cut it off at the bottom or the top. I think I'll cut it. This bottom looks really nice and even here. This looks a little bit like I'd rather cut it off here and make it nice and even after I glue it down. So I'm going to do the same thing, the same way I did the front. I have it all even now with the front fabric. So I'm going to start my line of glue right here on top of the other fabric. And just so I can see where it's going to go down. And the same thing at the bottom. Well, yeah. I mean, it's even with the fabric, so on the front, it's the same size. So we're going to do our little thin line up the side and down this side. Mark our kind of boundaries here. And then bead across the top. I know some people have said that their fabric tack is putting out fumes, and I don't know why. I buy this little bottle like this. It's not one of the huge bottles, and I don't know if there's any type of difference, but this is, you know, the Beacon fabric tack, and I do not smell anything. I don't know if it's, I don't know what it is. I have no idea, like, why doesn't mine smell? Because I don't smell anything, not anything at all, no glow smell. And it's not like my nose doesn't work. Like, if I get a Sharpie out, that smells strong to me. Like, that Sharpie is like, wow, that really is a strong smell. But on my fabric tack, I mean, I'm sniffing right now to see if I actually smell anything. And I really don't. Maybe I'm not breathing. But really, I don't smell anything. I don't know what it is. So, yeah, I don't have a problem with fabric tack. And I really like the way I mean, I feel just safe with it, you know what I mean? It's like, I feel like it really glues everything down good. So, I think I've got enough glue on there. All my spaces are covered. I'm kind of just looking around like I did on the front, make sure everything's covered well. I don't think I have too much, but I think I have plenty on there. So I'm going to go put our fabric down. And it's a little bit over the top. Well, it's even on the top bottom, like I said. So we're going to kind of get the bottom even, pull it tight toward the top. So like it doesn't go over the bottom or anything. It's right even with the bottom of the book. And, you know, and then let me see if I have this over a little bit too much. I think I need to pull it over maybe just a hair, I don't know. There is a little bit of leeway where you can move it around a bit before it starts, but not very much. Fabri-Tac glues down pretty quick. So smoothing everything out. Press down hard so you've got it all flat. Kind of like maybe spreading out the glue a little bit too under there to make sure it's all, everything's glued down good. I'm just going to take my scissors. If you have a bone, I have a bone folder, but I don't really think it's, I'm just using what I have right here by me. You can press those little edges down and make sure you're, you want to make sure your book is going to bend after you get this glued down. So we'll just do that. See how it bends nicely. Everything looks good. So I'm going to cut off the top here. Here's the other side. I'm going to cut this top off, this extra right here, and get it nice and even. Trying to see if I'm going to cut it from this side or the other side. I kind of like to do it from this side so I can see if there's anything sticking out, and I can cut it off right here at the top of the book, so everything's nice and even. Okay, see there's a little bit more right there that I need to cut off. Let's see if I can get that. It's a little bit, sometimes it's a little bit hard to cut right next to something like hard like this. Okay, I think I got it. One more little string. Okay, it's all nice and even on this side. Let's see what this side looks like. Yes, this side looks good. Kind of press it down so that if you have any glue under there, it's helping you to make that all even and nice looking. So that's it for the fabric. Next, I thought I thought maybe I'd go ahead and finish the cover. So I'm going to look and see if I want to put anything on the insides. And you can see I was thinking about putting scrapbook paper over here, but I like how this, even though it's plain, it matches everything so well. I might need a little bit of glue right there. But yeah, it matches everything so well that I thought I would leave the inside papers and I want to decide whether I want anything here, like do I want a library pocket here? Do I want an envelope here? So I'm going to look into that next, and then I'll come back with what I decide to do with that. But let me show you how pretty. This is one. Let me show you the other ones real quick. Got them right here behind me. So right now I'm still working on all 5. If it gets to do too much, I might stop the other 4 and just work on 1. But right now I'm still doing the 5. So, and they're coming out so cute, I think, anyway. So here's this one we worked on today. That's the front. There's that in the back. So cute. So I'm going to lay this out flat to finish drawing over here in back of me. I have a dresser over here in back of me. Here's another one. Upside down for you. Here's the fabric I chose for this one. And let me show you folded. These have been all drying overnight. I did these yesterday. Oh, here's the front. Isn't that pretty? I had all these fabrics. I had been collecting some fabrics, and I had all these fabrics. I was like, I wonder if I'm going to have to buy any fabrics because, I want them, I just want a certain look. And I had all the trims too. I mean, I couldn't believe that everything came together. So yeah, there's the front on that one. The spine, pretty. The back. So So that's that. And the next one, here is the fabric on this one. I keep showing you upside down. Here's the fabric on this one. Let me move my glue so I can hold it down. Yeah, here's this one. And here's what it looks like on the front. I've got trim on all of them. And the spine, and the back, inside. So that's that one, number 3. Here's number 4. Isn't it cool? I just love how these are turning out. I really do. Let's see, folded. There's the spine. There's the back. Inside. You see why I left. I think you can probably see why I left the inside papers. Everything just coordinates so well. So on this one here is the fabric, how it looks on the front, the spine, the back, and the inside. So I think they're coming out really cool. So I will figure out what I'm doing on the pockets and everything on the inside of these, and then I'll come back. My next video will be what I decide to do, and we'll do one on camera. So that's where we're at so far. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. I'm enjoying making these, so see you next time.